back again to the Playlist Push YouTube channel. Today we're talking about a very serious subject, Playlist Push Curator requirements. What it takes to get in, what it means to be a Playlist Push Curator, some common reasons why you were possibly excluded or not let into the network, and then just some tips on what you guys can do to give yourself the best chances to actually get into the network. Let's dive right into it. So for starters, in order to sign up to Playlist Push to be a curator, you need to have a Spotify playlist that you created, that you own, you have control over, and that playlist needs to have 1,000 followers. The 1,000 followers part is really one of the easier boxes to check. It's not that hard to create a playlist and organically grow it to 1,000 followers if you put the work in, creating the list, having interesting artwork for the list, really digging and discovering music that really fits closely into that niche, and then constantly updating the playlist and obviously marketing that playlist. So if you have a social media following, sharing it with your followers, sharing playlists in Facebook groups, sharing playlists on Reddit. Some people are even running ads to playlists in order to grow them. There's some people that they spend no time or real thought process creating a list. There's very little effort put into it, and they probably do something fake to get 1,000 followers. So that kind of stuff really sticks out to us from the very beginning, and it's very easy for us to decipher. So this 1,000 followers thing, it can be tough. I'll tell you right now, straight up, if you do buy followers, or if you somehow use a gate or some kind of other method to get to 1,000 followers, it's very easy for us to see that on our end, and you're not going to be let into the network. So those followers really need to be legit. They need to be sticky. And then the next part is you need to have active listeners. So your playlist needs to have at least 30 active monthly listeners. And then obviously that kind of goes up the bigger your playlist is. So if you have a playlist that has 100,000 followers, but only has 30 monthly listeners, you're probably not gonna get let into the network, because for us, it's all about managing expectations, right? If you're an artist and you get added to a playlist with 1,000 followers, it means nothing unless that playlist is throwing off streams and has monthly listeners and is actually providing some value to that artist. Their song's getting into people's ears on the platform, on Spotify. That's the most important thing. So the followers are really just a vanity metric. What really matters with the playlist is how many people are listening to it, and that's why, you know, growing and maintaining a playlist is tough. You need to keep it updated, you need to keep it sticky, so the people that are following it will continue to listen to it. Moving on to the next subject, we have very strict, like I was just saying, no bot or fake follower requirements. So if you gain, like I said, if you gain followers through gates, if you bought followers from some dodgy website, your playlist followers need to be 100% legit. And you know, when you sign up as a curator, we're gonna ask you a few questions. So when you started the playlist, how you grew the playlist, how you filled out that information is very important, because for us on our end, every playlist that tries to sign up for Playlist Push, out of the thousands that try to sign up, 0.4% get in. So there's a lot of people that, you know, they don't get in. And the other part of that is we review every single playlist. So a human reviews every single list. Now, let's say you have a good playlist, people actually listen to it, it has the right amount of followers, and your playlist was still excluded. So why is that happening? That's a good question. So for us at Playlist Push, we work with a lot of different artists, mostly in the hip hop, pop realm, but we also work in very like niche specific genres. But there are some playlists that are so specific that they don't make sense for us to have them in the network. So if someone tries to sign up with like a playlist that's only Turkish rap, it doesn't really make sense for us as a network to have that curator in the network if we don't have a lot of people that are running Turkish rap campaigns. So it really depends on the style of your list and, you know, what kind of audience you have. So sometimes the list will get rejected based on that. On top of that, we don't accept movie or soundtrack playlists, because when people go to that playlist, they want to hear songs from that show. So if there's just a bunch of random songs that were not on the TV show and they don't really fit with it, what's going to happen is people are going to skip your song. So you're going to see super high skip rates, and that's going to destroy the algorithm for you as an artist. So if you use a service that that gets you on these, Netflix show or movie soundtrack playlists. They're garbage. They don't do anything for you as an artist, even if they do gain you some streams in the short term. Long term, that's really destroying your discoverability. It's destroying your related artists your fans also like. So stay away from those movie soundtrack playlists, and that's also why they're not accepted in Playlist Push. We also don't accept playlists that change the title to attract followers. So some people will just name a playlist after a new track that comes out or a new album. So they're just changing the name of the playlist each week so that people are searching for it or listening to it. But it's the same thing with the movie soundtrack playlist. If people are searching for that artist, they want to hear that artist. So if they hear something else, they're going to skip it, kills the algorithm. No bueno, not good for you as an artist to be on those lists. That's why we don't accept it. We also don't accept playlists that are from different decades. So for example, 80s playlists are not allowed on Playlist Push. Why? Because same thing. If someone looks up an 80s playlist, they want to hear 80s music. They don't want to hear a pop song that just came out in 2021 on an 80s playlist, and when someone hears that, they're going to skip it. Of course, there's rare instances when people are creating like retro style music, but those are few and far between, and for us, it makes no sense to have those kind of playlists in the network. We also don't accept playlists that have the word follow me in the list. These playlists are part of like a network where people will just follow each other, and they might have followers, but there's no one actually listening to the list. And then there's also, like I said, the manual process of us vetting the playlist. So a human goes through each list and listens to the songs, make sure there's flow, make sure the songs are making sense for each other. If we see a playlist that has 20 different types of songs in it and there's no real consistency to it, odds are that it's not a good fit for the network, or they're just adding random songs. So the biggest thing for us at Playlist Push is we want to get our artist music into people's ears on Spotify. We don't just want them to sit on a playlist that has followers but has any listeners, or has like 2 listeners, like you and your buddy that are listening to it. That doesn't really do anything. So the number one reason people get rejected is because they might have followers but they don't have the listeners. And that's kind of frustrating for some curators, because they think, hey look, I have the followers, there's a bunch of people listening to my list, but in reality they either bought fake followers, or they didn't gain the followers in a genuine way, or the list has just gone stale. So they created the playlist a long time ago, they haven't been good at updating it, people stopped listening to it, and even though people are still following it, no one's listening to the list, so therefore we can't let them in. So as a curator, how can you do this research? Like, how can you find this out for yourself, right? So what you can do is, if you have a playlist and you have an artist that's a little bit smaller and doesn't have millions of monthly listeners, if your song is throwing off streams, it's going to be in that artist discovered on section. So you can scroll through your playlist, go to different artists that are on your list, go to their discovered on section, and see if your playlist is in there. I think Spotify added like 20 or 25 playlists that an artist is in on their discovered on feature, which is only on the desktop app. So go to the desktop app, go through there, go through your list, try to find a smaller artist that's on your list and see if you're on their discovered on feature. That's a good sign. That usually is signaling your playlist actually has monthly listeners and it's throwing off some serious traction. So that's a good way to, try that before you sign up to Playlist Push. And unfortunately for us, we get hundreds of people that want to sign up to be curators and they need to be reviewed manually. You're either accepted or rejected. We don't have the time to write personal messages to every single person telling them the exact reason why they weren't let in. But the number one reason is usually there's just no listeners. So there's followers, but there's no one listening to the list. So that is basically the Playlist Push curator requirements. Hopefully that answered any questions. If you've signed up as a curator, you didn't get in, or you're a curator on Playlist Push, you have any questions or you're curious about joining, drop a comment down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and thanks for tuning in.